District Director Bijan Sertipi is absent. Representing the City of Oakland, Councilmember Noel Gallo.
Present.
Councilmember Rebecca Kaplan.
Here.
Representing the City of San Leandro, Councilmember Michael Gregory.
Present.
And Councilmember Pauline Cutter.
Present.
Okay, representing the AC Transit Board of Directors, Board President Greg Harper.
Here.
Director Joel Young. And Chair Elsa Ortiz.
Here. Okay, are there any public comments for items not on the agenda?
We have none.
Okay, next, the Chair's report on pertinent actions of the AC Transit Board of Directors. Good morning, welcome. Thank you for attending and participating in these meetings. Let me give you an update. The BRT project has realized several important achievements since the last PSC meeting on January 27, 2014. Most importantly, the remaining increment of federal funding, $27 million, was included in the President's budget. Yes. While the budget still has to go through congressional process, it is encouraging that our project was in the President's budget and is a sign of the FDA's confidence in our ability to deliver the project. We submitted the Small Starts Grant Agreement application as scheduled. The application will require FDA administrative review for the next several weeks, followed by a final application. We expect to have the FDA approval by fall of 2014. With that approval and with success in the federal budget process, the BRT program funding will be totally committed. The district is in negotiations with the property owners of the parcel required for the project, including 2 parcels that will become the parking lots as part of the mitigations required by the project. Later in the meeting, we will receive a report on the result of the artist selection process and have the opportunity to advise the board, the AC Transit Board, on the artist selection. In a month, the BRT project will release the 65% design for the major construction package, which includes the parking impact mitigation plan and business impact mitigation plan as well. At this time, everyone, the cities, Caltrans, and the public at large will have the opportunity to review, comment, and further guide the design of the project. With that, I will turn to the program director for the first staff report, which is consider approving the BRT Policy Steering Committee minutes of January 27, 2014. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, passes unanimously.
And Director Young, I believe, has to abstain. He was called at the last meeting.
We're still there.
But you weren't officially teleconferencing.
Bueno, podemos ir a cerrar.
Number 2, consider recommending award for the lead artist or artists for the East Bay Bus Rapid Transit project. And before we start, have 4 PSC board members have an opportunity to look at those drawings of those proposals. And can the public see them, or are they only facing this way? But they were put in outside. Oh, they were put outside, I think. Yeah. That's great. But have PSC board members look at it? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. Rama Pocharazu, Senior Project Manager. This report is for the committee to consider the recommendation of award for the lead artist team of Johanna Kodik of Oakland, California, Mildred Howard of Berkeley, California, with supporting artists Joy Sisu of Oakland, California, and Peter Richards of Oakland, California. Planning for integration of art into the station design architecture began in October 2012. Since then, district staff has worked with the City of Oakland and City of San Leandro staff in formulating and finalizing the artistic enhancement strategy. The strategy was presented to this committee on May 17, 2013. To conduct an open, equitable, and fair process for artist solicitation, 2 separate and concurrent RFQs were released nationwide, advertised nationwide in October 2013. One RFQ for lead artist contract, other one is for a pre-qualified pool of supporting artists and artisans. The RFQs were issued in accordance with FDA regulations pertaining to artistic enhancement as integrated with architectural design of the stations. District has received 100 responses for lead artist RFQ, and of those, 41 were deemed responsive and responsible by the procurement staff. District also received 116 responses for pre-qualified artists and artisans who RFQ, and of those, 39 were deemed responsive and responsible. As listed in the technical strategy of art enhancement, the Technical Assistance Committee, consisting of 2 district staff, 1 representative each from the CDs and BRT team, evaluated the qualifications of the lead artist and shortlisted 7 semi-finalists. The 7 semi-finalists were asked to team up with 1 or up to 2 artisans from the pre-qualified pool. The lead artist team were given an honorarium of $1,200 to develop concept proposals which were displayed in the lobby for public comments. The artist selection panel, which is separate from the Technical Assistance Committee, interviewed the 7 semi-finalists, reviewed the public comments received, and considered the project budget and timeline constraints to make the recommendation of 1 lead artist team for the entire BRT corridor. The concept plans of all 7 lead artist semi-finalists are included in the report for your review. Staff requests committee members to advise the board on this recommendation. Subject to your questions, this concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Before we start the comments, I think that, as I understand it, the selection committee chose 1 artist only to have the same theme throughout the 6 stations.
That's correct.
So I think what I would like to ask this board, to this committee, to think about is, should we have 1 artist with 1 design through the 6 stations, 6 or 7? 6.
These are the
Okay, how many?
There's a lot more stations.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
No, but the ones who are going to have this design, how many? 6.
6 enhanced.
Yeah. And so should we choose 1 artist within 1 design for all 6 stations, or should we choose 2 or 3 and have different ones, sprinkle around?
Thank you for this, and thank you for the recommendation. So is the recommendation today just to vote on who the team will be, or is the implication that by selecting the team, we're selecting the specific art form? Or is it an iterative process where we select the team and then the team refines our form, or does it mean we're selecting the specific designs?
We are selecting the team and the concept. As listed in the artistic enhancement strategy, the lead artist will be going out and conducting community meetings. There will be 3 to take input from the community and they'll refine their concept.
So,
But starting from the one of the lead artists, or starting from all 3?
what is it? Yeah.
Starting from the one that's selected.
Which one is that?
Number 4.
Number 4. So
So it's a team of 3 artists, but it's not a team of 3 of these.
That's right. It's one team with 2 lead artists, but 1 team, and they have 2 supporting
And it's
artists.
designed for,
That's number
And so,
4.
which means that design 4 will be in each of the 6.
in all of the ones that
And so that's
based
my,
on this,
yeah.
with further enhancements from community
Yeah,
input.
something like this. So my question was originally, I think we should decide is, should we have design 4, if that's the choice, to be in every station, similar?
Okay, so I'm sorry, now that I
or-
got clarity, to come back to your original
Yeah.
question, which is my recommendation would be that we support the staff recommendation and that we support the direction that they have a consistent general concept, but that as they're doing these community meetings, there may be some different requests from different locations, but that they can start from the same base theme, and then if one neighborhood says, we want more of something, depending on what it's next to or whatever, that they'd be authorized to include, that they not be, they don't have to all be
Yeah,
exactly
exclusive.
identical, but that they start with the same base design, with potential tweaks based on neighborhood input, and in some part based on logistics, like
Well,
some of them depending what they're next to or in front of.
But if you're saying that, allowing the community to come in and change or alter the design, we might end up without that, something very different. I mean, I don't know what is the elasticity for that.
The concepts are for concepts, and the idea is how it's going to be integrated with the design. Thus, the selection panel has chosen that concept given the budget constraints that this project has. They think that concept can work. The theme in the concept is what needs to be determined once we.
What is a concept? What do you mean with a concept? If you look at that, is the arches and those
The
things?
arches and the honeycomb pattern, how it is integrated with the flat screen.
Well, maybe if you look at the posters hanging on the back wall, they all have the same base design, and then each one has different detailing, right? So when you look at that series of posters, it's quite obvious that they're a series and that they go together, but then there's an element in each of them that's different. That's kind of what I'm meaning.
I just want to clarify one thing. All 34 stations will get artistic treatment. 6 of them will get enhanced treatments. All that.
Any other comment? Yes.
I unselfishly will agree with Rebecca. However, this wasn't my first choice. So in that, I would love to see the part that we're going to do where you involve some community. I mean, I don't see San Leandro anywhere in 4. And I think it's kind of more of a general description. You could find that in Oregon, you could find it in New York, you could find it anywhere. I mean, I don't see anything inherent to our city. So hopefully, as it's probably a very functional design and also, you know, good for maintenance and so forth. And I'm not saying anything about the design. Obviously, I had another one in preference. But what I'd like to do is see a little bit more of the you know, now that they have if they have the contract, they'll be able to spend more time with the people in the area to actually focus more on, say, what our stations were. Since we went to naming our stations by the geographical area, it will be nice to see some actual area or culture put into the station art.
Right.
Joel?
To Pauline, I think that wouldn't necessarily be my first choice either, but here's the situation. You have 41 artists, right, who are qualified, which you describe on page 10 in that full paragraph is people who are qualified.
They're responsive and responsible.
Responsive and responsible. How did you get from 41 to 7?
It's a technical assistance committee sat down. There were 2 representatives from the district, 1 representative each from the cities, and an architect and urban and landscape design consultant. Looked at that from the technical standpoint and the responses they provided on the questions that we have, whether the availability of the lead artist, where they are, not the location was never considered. It is their samples they submitted, and we shortlisted 7. And the recommendation to the selection panel was they can select up to 3, 1 to 3 lead artists.
I guess was the concept to go from 41 to 7? Was the concept to go from 41 to 10? There's a couple of follow-up questions. One is, you're asking us, how long is this art going to be a part of the project?
Hold on, I'm sorry?
Indefinitely, right?
Yes.
And so, is there the possibility that we have 41 people who are qualified? Are we leaving out the possibility that of the 7 who were picked, of the 34 who are remaining that we didn't look at, do they have a concept that's going to blow away these 7? Because you're asking us to make a decision to put this art in there indefinitely, and do we as a committee make a decision just based on these 7 without knowing what the other possible 34 are, and then coming up with something tremendous that we're just leaving out?
I think that to answer, excuse me, Joel, but aren't some FDA restrictions regarding how these selections are made and the whole things, the process? Maybe somebody can speak up on this.
It's been a rather extensive.
No,
review
but there's
by
also
independent
FDA requirements of how to do this in answer to Joel's 45 versus 7.
John Medwin, Director of Procurement and Materials. This was an FTA RFQ methodology that was used. We used an RFQ request for qualifications because the art is being integrated into the design of the project. To answer your question, Director Young, as we wrote the RFQ, it specifically stated that we would choose 7 semi-finalists as part of the evaluation process. So what you have from technical advisory group is the top 7 of the 41 who were deemed responsive and responsible.
But where did the number 7?
It was that number was derived, was put in the RFQ as part of the evaluation process.
Right, but someone had to determine 7, I guess. How did the number 7 come to fruition to make it into the RFQ? Did someone just pick 7? Did someone just pick 7? We're going to do 7. Did someone just say 10? Did someone say 15?
We wanted to have a large enough pool of semi-finalists to allow for between 1 and 3 finalists to be recommended for award. I can't speak to the exact number why you picked 7, but it gave us the opportunity to have the widest selection possible of the most qualified firms or artists.
And from the 7, it's surprising that only 1 was from the local area. How do we bring in someone from Cambridge to do community outreach to make an understanding of what this community is about?
This was a national call for artists. Geographic preference cannot be included as an FTA requirement.
But as a matter of process, how do we bring someone in to do community outreach from like Cambridge, from Tucson, from Texas, or from Louisiana? Are they going to like move to the community for like a month to do the community outreach? I guess, is it even possible for us to choose anyone but the staff recommendation based on the restrictions with which, the geographical restrictions from which they're operating?
Yes. Procurement Director, geographic restriction or location was never a preference. It was a part of the question, the lead artist availability, their familiarity, and how they work nationwide with other communities. Those are the things the technical assistance committee looked into. One of the specific questions we asked was, what is your availability? Whether you will be here, perform all this community outreach and refining of the design. Based on that was the promise.
Okay.
I'd like to move the staff recommendation with the caveat that you will meet with the local community on local tweaks, and particularly San Leandro, as they don't have a person from there that will want to make sure that they don't get missed in terms of any local tweaks they want.
Sure.
So you mean number 4?
Right, move approving a number 4
Aye.
with the local tweaks. And I want to say part of it is that it's very maintainable. And that, I'm sorry, let me make sure this is on. So I'm moving to support the staff recommendation with the amendment of the direction to give the opportunity for the local input, but keep the base design of number 4. And I want to note that we are not only sitting here as artists, which is for us maybe a little funny to be thinking we're sitting here as artists, but we're sitting here as a policy steering committee over a project that has to last. And this one is maintainable, and it doesn't have extra odd structures that will be in the way of wheelchairs. And so while we may think we're here to judge art, there was a committee that was set up to judge the art, and they recommended number 4. But we have to make sure this project survives and functions, and this design is particularly functional in terms of the layout and the need for the accessibility. So I just want to say I'm not making this motion solely on the basis of judging the art, but we did have a subcommittee to whom that was passed.
Kind of question, are all the designs meeting ADA accessibility? So it's not just number 4, every one of them has accessibility.
Sure.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I understand the motion, but I think it gets back down to a principle that I think we're in the Bay Area trying to implement, and following up on the comment that was made earlier. So considering the fact that Oakland, San Francisco, and the Bay Area are the home of some of the richest artists, architects in the world.
My recommendation includes.
Okay, hold on a second, hold on a minute. I didn't interrupt you. Hold on a second. So I think for me, it's considering your 41 that you selected for consideration, and I don't have the 41 in front of me. I just have 7, and all those 7, I agree with you, they're from quite a bit out of town. And so, out of those 41, was there a significant local presence in terms of the artists that are being considered?
I'm sorry, is this not the in-town group, the staff recommendation?
Yes.
It is the in-town group.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
The team that I made the motion for is local.
But also.
But he's asking a much broader.
You're asking why was there more local
Yeah,
applicants?
yeah.
I don't have information right.
And whether we like that number
with me
4 or
now.
not.
41, where they are from, the geographic preference was never.
The reason with all due respect to staff, I think we preach one thing at the political, and we got to get our people at work because we got to eat too, right? And then like the city of Oakland and other jurisdictions, we wind up bringing people from way out of the area, and meanwhile the people that are here in Oakland or here in the area cannot get a job. So I think not that we're not after quality, because I believe we have quality individuals and groups as well. And I'm just trying to get that answer.
We can follow up and give you a report that shows the composition of the 41 with the remaining 34 artists. But please keep in mind, this is an FTA-funded procurement, and there can't be a geographic preference put in there. And so I hear what you're saying. There's a prohibition from us to consider any geographic preference in the evaluation, and there was no geographic evaluation in this RFQ evaluation.
Thank you.
Was there a point spread that, out of 1 through 7, one of them got 4 first choices, one of them got all the first choices, or so forth, or that? And that said, when I was on the school board, I think the biggest argument we had was the color paint, the trim on the high school. So I get that this is you put 7 people up here, you're going to have 7 opinions and so forth. But I'm wondering, as I don't know, I have to call you commissioner or board member or Joel, board member Young said, it is something that we're going to do to it, and we want to make sure that it's done right and according to the vision and stuff. So do you have a point spread, or what? I mean, maybe that would help if our committee came to us with, this is the unanimous choice if everyone is first place and so forth.
The selection panel has recommendations, and they have criteria which is set in the RFQ how to score all these proposals. So there is a scoreboard, but I will turn to the procurement director whether we can share that.
Am I listening to some reticence to go along with Rebecca's saying choose the staff report number 4 design, or what?
Well, and with the option for the local tweak. I mean, I think it's fine to investigate the procurement process as a later item because there will be future procurement. So if we want to strengthen the way we look at the first list before it gets to the final list for other things, I have no problem with that. My understanding is this is somewhat time sensitive. I don't know if, in terms of that we now have these 7. I mean, if somebody feels really strongly about a different one, I certainly would respectfully hear the opinion of my colleagues.
No, I'll second the motion. I don't think it was seconded. I'll second it, but I think it's for future development. I just want to make sure that that the Bay Area is represented in activity. Anyways, I'll second the motion.
I'm not voting for this. So if I would vote, I would vote for number 3, but that's mine.
Do you like number 3?
I'm fine with number 4. As far as I know, we had other discussions previously about local hire versus, there were some strictures about the FDA funding that we just, as much as we'd like to go overwhelmingly local, we just can't. And I can't remember if it was local hiring or what the exact issue was that was related to this. And we just can't go there. Or we forget the funds. And then we don't have funds.
Well,
I'm going to be joining Director Ortiz in voting no against this. I'm just not comfortable making a decision based on these 7 myself.
All right, there was a motion and a second. Should we call point?
At the risk of, I just would like to, usually when something comes up before it has the vote with it. So, I mean, if it was, I mean, I personally like number 3 also, so that's my citizens. But I'm thinking if number 3 was just a hair away from number 4, and it won, and they had the same argument at the committee level that we're having now, and we're going to adopt this forever, I would like to know. If it was by far the first choice and for a lot of reasons and stuff, I would just like to hear that. I'd like to hear what their reasoning was. Because I also, if number 3 was my favorite, because I thought it showed a lot of different, it brought neighborhood to the stations.
At the end of the evaluation process, there was consensus from the entire group of the evaluators to choose number 4.
It's a very qualified statement. Thank
They
you.
took into consideration the budget of the project, whether each proposal, the concept, it needs to be scaled down because of the budget constraint. Can it function as it is projected
There is a
in the
motion
concept?
and a
So
second, so let's roll call and see.
Councilmember Catlin,
yes.
Councilmember Gallo,
Yes.
Director Young,
No.
Councilmember Cutter,
Aye.
President Harper. No.
Oh, sorry.
I thought she was going by the leaving of it.
Aye.
And Councilmember Gregory,
Aye.
and Chair Ortiz.
No. Okay, that's settled.
Thank you.
Consider recommending adoption of resolution designating the PSC as the East Bay Bus Rapid Transit Policy Advisory Committee and clarifying purpose and membership.
Good morning, Chair Ortiz and members of the committee. The item before you this morning requests your consideration of a draft resolution concerning the PSC itself to clarify its purpose as an advisory body, to amend the membership, and suggest changing the name of the committee to the Policy Advisory Committee. I want to begin by saying that by and large, this resolution is ministerial in nature. And the primary reason for its drafting is to document in one place various decisions that the AC Transit Board of Directors have taken over the years concerning the PSC. As background, generally when a legislative body establishes another legislative body, like a steering committee or an advisory committee, it's customary to do it by resolution. Unfortunately, that did not happen in this case back in 1999. So the board created a committee and over the years made various changes to it based on staff recommendations and motions. What is before you today is an opportunity to clean up what has happened in the past and consolidate various actions into one document, with a few exceptions. The composition. What is being proposed is to clean up the existing composition to eliminate the non-voting member of the Allegheny County Board of Supervisors and to officially combine the MTC and Caltrans members into one representative. The second item is the name and purpose of the committee. Today's PSC was once the Major Investment Study Policy Steering Committee formed in 1999. While the name and the composition of the committee have changed over the years, based on information available in the official records of the board, the committee's function has been to review and make recommendations to the AC Transit Board of Directors. Of course, one could argue that because the current name PSC, or acronym PSC, is so widely used and familiar to anyone involved with the BRT project, including the public, it should not change. However, this does not mean the committee's role has expanded beyond that of an advisory body to date. In closing, I would like to mention that there is a renewed emphasis at AC Transit on revisiting our policies And also our committees to ensure we're meeting legal requirements or in the case of the PSC, to have adequate documentation available to address questions that occasionally arise from members of the committee, the general public, and other agencies about the committee's work and what it does. This resolution will provide the means to pull more than a decade's worth of board actions together in one place and have one country documented. Furthermore, unlike our failure to ask PSC members for their input back in 2011, when staff proposed that the board make the PSC an informational committee only, we are asking the PSC members to opine and want input from those of you on the committee. In addition, council member at the last meeting asked for clarity concerning the role of the PSC, so this item is very timely. That concludes my report. I'm happy to address any questions. I will add that in 2011, our board did say no, we will not make this an informational committee, it will be an advisory committee. And President Harper was very strong on that aspect. Okay.
Pauline? I'll move the motion. Second. I'm sorry, Pauline.
Just one quick question.
Again, as this recommendation came up, it was initiated by, to go from a steering committee to an advisory committee.
That was something I put into the report. It doesn't have to stay there. You don't have to recommend changing the name. I mean, there's lots of good reasons why not to.
My only reservation, and perhaps I get clarification, and one is, being an advisory committee is one thing, and the steering committee has a different authority, charge, and I represent the City of Oakland, the City Council that created that directive to oversee the BRT project because it has a tremendous impact in my neighborhood and the City of Oakland. And so for me, when becoming advisory means one thing, and if I'm going to just sit here and advise you, I can do that from home, right? But because at the end of the day, I have to take the recommendation of the steering committee to my city council to continue to work with you to make sure that Oakland becomes a more livable and as well as utilizing transportation. So I would recommend that we maintain this as a steering committee, and at least that's the charge that my council gave us, to have that authority to be able to stay with you from the beginning to the very end of completion of BRT.
What's the difference between steering? Could you explain it's the difference? I don't know.
Okay, but that's, okay. I think I guess I'm asking who made the recommendation, because when I read this, it clearly spells out that advisory, it takes you to a different role.
It's a smaller role.
Right. As opposed to being
At
able
least
to
that's
play a
what
leadership direction of what actually happens on my street. And so that's, unless somebody can clarify that.
Can I ask, what's the difference between steering and advisory committee? I'm just
Okay, no, that's fine, thank you.
What is it?
I'm sorry?
No, yes, them.
Yeah, I mean,
Staff is
somebody
recommending.
proposed it.
Staff is
I
recommending
know
that
what
we
a steering
reduce our
committee
role.
does.
Did somebody ask for this to be on the agenda?
Yeah, who put it on here?
between steering and advisory?
And who put this on the agenda?
First of all, I placed this item on the agenda as a cleanup measure. That's been outstanding for a long time.
Okay.
The second thing is the steering committee. In general, a steering committee, it does have a broader role. It's more of a strategic role, direction setting role, and that is kind of the role this committee had when it was initiated back in '99, trying to figure out what project to do, where this project would be, various elements related to that.
I'm still trying to, trying to figure out your concern between advisory and steering. I always heard this was an advisory committee to the AC Transit Board. So how is this resolution changing the advisory role to something less than advisory? I don't understand.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Okay, I want to support what my colleague Mr. Guy was saying. There's no reason for us to do this at all. I mean, if we want to have a conversation about the extent of our role and whether it needs changing, I'd be willing for us to agendize the discussion of strengthening the power of this body, because the public wants to know that this project's going to be done right. We're nowhere near done with significant decisions. We still have to decide how bus-only lane is going to be enforced. That's a serious policy decision involving law enforcement, involving city resources. We are not anywhere near done. So the fact that this was originally a policy steering committee, we are not done with the need for that. We have a ton of policies that we still have to steer. So I don't see why this is on the agenda at all. If we want to have a discussion about changing the nature of this body, I'd be interested in discussing how we could make this body's decisions more enforceable. Absent that, I'd be happy for us to not discuss that issue at all and just finish the work on the project and not
So you're saying
change the name.
is what you're objecting is the title of the committee?
There's no purpose
No,
to
but-
doing this at all.
No, because that would be the outcome. Do you want to leave it PSC?
Yeah, just leave it the way it is. If there comes a time that we want to talk about changing the role, then that means having the whole conversation about the whole role. Right now, to change a name just so we have to reprint letterhead seems like, let's get the project done. And
Correct.
Well, the composition has changed, and we have to
Yes,
at least do
there's
that.
Kind of
no,
corrective
and someone's just not coming, who's supposed to be here.
No, I thought this,
The other thing was the Caltrans and MTC representative have kind of morphed into one position, yet the action by the board was their individual positions. So,
that's the only thing I thought.
Okay, well,
I mean, if there's no
Whoever-
opposition,
Who's
just
on the
cleaning that
committee
up.
should be
right,
explicit.
so we can authorize the merging of the Caltrans and MTC positions. I'm fine with that.
So my question is, we retain the PSC title. Is that what? Yeah, that's what you were suggesting, retaining the PSC title?
No.
So-
All I'm suggesting is we maintain the role of the steering committee. Make it very clear, because you said right up, it's a strategic policy committee, right? An advisory committee is not a strategic policy, because I still got to settle with my people on international. We haven't even resolved those issues. And I think and those have significant, but I think this body, perhaps our roles are not clearly defined within ourselves, but I think we still, as a city, because I have Sally Andrew at the table, we need to play strategic roles from the beginning to the end, because it's going to have a great impact on our neighborhoods. And I would rather have some kind of authority, because at the end of the day, I got to take it back to my council and with some kind of authority in terms of a recommendation. And so, I mean, that's my.
I appreciate that. Given how much this has engendered, I would like to suggest that we continue this item because I am aware that Oakland staff have some serious concerns about it, and I know the community members do. And so I think given that we don't have to resolve this today, we have other things that are more timely, maybe we could have some time to discuss with our counterparts and come back to this at a later date.
Yeah,
Question. And hopefully this isn't a contentious question. And pardon me for my ignorance, I know I'm new to the committee. Is there a date with which we expect to sunset this committee, or when we get into the actual operation and maintenance?
That's provided for in the resolution, and it's upon initiation of revenue service.
Okay, so when we're actually, and that gets to the second portion of the question, when we get to actually running the service, this committee no longer exists. And so how do we anticipate working with San Leandro and Oakland once the service starts working? Is that just going to be on the staff level?
I would anticipate that there would be the formation of an interagency liaison committee. We have several with various cities, and that
Then we'll
would
change
be,
the name.
That's it.
I mean, the committee is right. This resolution doesn't have to go anywhere, but I do have a membership issue. I do need to clarify, and you can retain it in committee and talk about it. That's fine.
so if committee members don't mind, because we need to do this resolution just as part of the whole AC Trans review and everything, let's keep the PSC title, and then put in further discussion, whatever the role is.
And I'll just bring a staff report and then
And then we can talk to city staff to hear their concerns, why they think is diminishing the power and the whole thing. To me, it just I don't understand the concerns, but it's worth bringing it back for further discussion. So do you want to change your, okay, whatever I said? Yes.
No, I'm changing it
To just keep it in title and passing the resolution, but coming back with talking more about the role.
No, not passing the resolution. The resolution is what diminishes the power.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
going to,
Okay, so no action.
But what are we going to do with the composition?
Yeah.
It hasn't been a problem for 10 years. The problem has been that they don't show up. If they show up,
That part is true.
so none of these people that we're talking about rushing this through for have shown up once in 8 years. So
There is the issue of the other, there's
Of the
two other
merger.
positions, that merger of that one.
so then they will both not show up and will only be one person.
Well,
not
it's
showing up
only,
instead of
then we
two.
should ask MTC to appoint somebody.
Okay, so we're postponing this, tabling and postponing, and come back with a more vigorous discussion.
Or not.
Or not.
Okay. Information item, these are information items. Consider receiving an update on communications with the BRT Access and Functional Needs Subcommittee.
Good morning. My name is Mallory Brush. I'm the district's manager of accessible services. We're here today to provide this committee with an update to the district's communications with the Access and Functional Needs Subcommittee. The subcommittee is comprised of members from 2 of the City of Oakland's advisory groups, Commission on Aging, as well as the Commission of Individuals with Disabilities, as well as AC Transit's internal accessibility advisory committee. This group is charged with reviewing and commenting on 35, 65, 100% design in 6 topical areas, and you'll see those listed in your memo. Infrastructure, stations, vehicles, fare collections, intelligent transportation systems, and service and operating plans. In May of 2013, the district did do a 35% review with this group. It was focused on station and platform accessibility, and it was a very successful meeting, and then there was silence. This committee then heard from the chairs of 2 of those groups, Scott Blanks and Stephen Beard, at their last meeting. The staff immediately gathered the appropriate Oakland staff as well as the chairs of those 2 committees, and we got the bus back on route. Our last meeting with this group was last Wednesday, March 19th. It was very successful and positive. We reviewed vehicle accessibility. It was a generic schematic of a BRT vehicle. And then we have outlined the remaining 6 focus areas, the meetings that will be held, and that's on page 2 of your memo. Our next big milestone will be the 65% review, which will occur on April 16th. Again, so we may have detoured, but we were back on route, and I'd be happy to address any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Move acceptance of the report with gratitude for the improved communication with the disability community. Second that, thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Passes unanimously. We move to consider receiving BRT project update.
Good morning, committee members. David Wilkins, BRT Program Director. The BRT project update highlights the standing of the project through March 2014. You've already heard this morning about the Lead Artist Program, our improved communications with the functional needs access community. And following me this morning, you're going to hear additional updates about the BRT Information Center, the 65% design plans for major infrastructure, and updates on our progress towards delivering initial drafts of the parking and business impact mitigation plans. In addition, you'll find in the report brief status on our efforts to complete negotiations for property acquisition. At present, we remain on schedule to meet another set of important milestones directly related to the topics we'll discuss today. The 65% design plans for major infrastructure package and the parking and business impact mitigation plans are scheduled for delivery in late April. That will set the stage for updates to both city councils later this summer. And in addition, property acquisition activities should be completed within the next couple of months, which will clear the way for us to execute the procurement process and start construction on those properties in the fall. And finally, you'll hear a little bit more detail about this following, but our BRT Information Center will be scheduled to open later this spring. And with that, subject to your questions, that completes my report.
Pauline?
Hi, thank you for that report. We had the AC Transit staff came to the city of San Leandro and made a staff report to our whole council. And in that, we were talking about the aspects of the project that were unique to San Leandro and so forth. And one of the projects I think the topics our mayor talked about was the improvements in San Leandro and so forth. And the quote was repaving all the way to the BART Street station. And then you came back in a memo and clarified the statement to be, it would be up to Bellevue, and then after that it would be striping. I want just personally further clarification, because in my notes we had a lot of street improvement to East 14th Street and Davis to the street. So I want to know what your classification of restriping is and so forth. And this could be made, I mean, we don't have to take up a whole meeting with it and stuff. And I realize that I'm putting you a little bit on the spot, so I'd like to give you some time to think about that and so forth. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm not considering that issue standing the way we left it. I want more clarification, because that was one of the main things that I told my city, in that we were going to have some improvement to the streets if we were going to do this. And so I just wanted to comment on that. Okay.
Yes, yes.
You mentioned to the general manager when he...
I did mention it to the general manager.
Okay. Yes, you're correct. The memo that we sent following the council meeting the purpose was to clarify the statement I made at that presentation. So you're correct that the complete street paving goes through Bellevue, and then after that it's just striping. I think what might be helpful is perhaps we can work with your engineering staff. I believe Mr. Keith Cook is here today, and maybe set up just a short meeting with you to highlight what paving will be done, beyond Bellevue all the way to the BART station. It's essentially going to be a limited amount around where the station platforms are going to be constructed for the curbside station, because we have to put in the concrete bus pads there, so there's going to be some repair to the existing pavement that will be done as a part of that process. And then the striping is all going to be done to accommodate the realignment of the corridor, to accommodate bike lanes and that part of the roadway alignment. So we'd be more than happy to give that to you in a little more detail, so we don't have to do it here. But
I would appreciate that. My main concern is I don't want the area to look worse because we're restriping and having a lot of blackout lines and other things like that. We were told that this is going to enhance our area, and I want to make sure it does. So I'd like to be included, and I'll talk to my staff about making sure I'm at the meeting, and Michael too, when we do these. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
very well.
Any other questions?
Yes. And again, thank you for the information. But there seems to be, in my part of Oakland, anyway, there still seems to be a good number of questions that are being raised by not just the merchants in the area, but also some of the neighbors. And I think you've seen this report that's circulating or is being presented by the East Lake Merchants Association, San Antonio Merchants, and by the East Bay Youth Center. And so and if you can respond, one of their questions here for the record is, the bus rapid transit will create a bus-only lane in the middle of International Boulevard. Bus stops will be mostly raised platform stations in the middle of the street. Is that pretty accurate? Okay, let me and I think Christine just sent you a copy, if you could. Right, the next one says, BRT will eliminate one lane of regular traffic in each direction. This means that International Boulevard will become a 2-lane street instead of a 4-lane thoroughfare. between 400 and 500 street parking spaces on International Boulevard will be removed. Most parking losses will be on a block before a station, at that station, and a block after the station. At most intersections, left-hand turns will not be allowed from International Boulevard. Merchandise loading and unloading on International will be restricted, or in some instances will not be allowed. Those are important questions that are still being raised, and I would hope that, as sometime soon as the project continues, we need to be able to address those. And I don't know if you can respond to any of those statements at all at this.
Well, having just seen this, Councilmember Gallo, I will say that we're going to meet with you this afternoon. We're going to answer and address all of these things as it pertains to your particular district in a vein similar to what we did with Councilmember Kernahan in her district. We met with her last week. I would say that a lot of this information or these statements that are made in this brochure, I just seen this just now. I didn't have a chance to look at this ahead of time. But a lot of the statements that are made in here are framed in such a way that it seems to present a very adverse impact, to these large areas in these neighborhoods. And I think that you're going to see this afternoon when we meet with you in a manner similar to what was learned with Councilmember Kernahan when we went through the discussion with her. That's not the case. There are certain areas along the corridor, for example, where there is a high displacement of parking, but in other cases, that's not the case. I mean, there are many blocks, consecutive blocks, where there's a minimal impact, or if there's displacement, there's a relocation to an arterial street in accordance with the methodology that was developed during the final environmental impact statement, of which we have a record decision that allowed the project to move forward. So I'm confident that at the end of our discussion this afternoon, you're going to have a much better understanding of not only what's going on in your district and your neighborhood, but how that applies just in a general sense to other areas along the corridor. And these are the touch points of concern. It's parking, it's where the stations, how the stations are located, and that type of thing. So give us a chance to sit with you this afternoon and go through this, and then we can we can come back and do some more give and take and discussion about it.
Thank you.
Rebecca.
So in terms of questions on the specific items that still have information report, should I hold those questions for that item? Because I know we sort of talked about business impact mitigation, parking impact mitigation under item 8, project update, but then they're listed as other numbers. Shall I hold?
Yeah.
We're going to still have separate. Okay, so I'll hold my questions on that for then. And just, congratulations on the FTA. I know we mentioned that already, but it seems worthy of mentioning again, since I didn't say it before when the item was just mentioned in passing, and since you're now with the report, congratulations on the progress with the FTA. That's great news. So, good job. Thank you.
Well, since you did mention about the FTA, let me also add that we also received some more good news recently from the FTA, and that is that they have found that the design changes for and related impacts to the BRT design do not have any significant impact and won't require us to do a supplemental environmental impact statement or an environmental assessment. This is hugely important to the project because it completely now eliminates any possibility we would have to come back and do another environmental process, which, as you know, could take several months or even a year, which would greatly disrupt the timeline of going into revenue service in November 2017. So we were very happy to receive that letter at the end of last week, and yet is another indication that at least from that part with the FTA and funding and now the environmental thing being settled, that things are moving in the right direction.
I have a question. What are systems, which is the second highest expenditure after professional services?
So
What are systems?
systems are the, represent the collection of electronic communication systems, if you will, that help the BRT service operate. So at each station platform, we're going to have real-time bus arrival signs. We're going to have surveillance cameras. We're going to have ticket vending machines. And we have transit signal priority systems that will allow the buses to move through the corridor to maintain their headway. All of those things connected represent systems, and all of those systems are connected through a fiber optic network that's going to control them. So it goes to the AC Transit's Operation Control Center, it's tied into Caltrain, it's tied into the cities of Oakland, so that's what makes up the system, and all those different components are connected that way.
So where is the expenditure for construction, the raw construction, where is there and there? Is that all combined and,
Yeah, so the numbers that you see here in these charts, these are the small starts category codes, right? So
Okay.
these are the kind of the general top level line item that's an FDA reporting. This is their reporting format. And so when you see systems, this amount in here, some of that represents the construction of the system, but some of it represents planning and design of the system as well. So the in the same with the other sections in there. But that's why it's the highest, because of the nature of that particular part of the project.
Greg?
Does each station have to have a separately metered electrical service?
Let me consult my experts.
Where's my experts? There's one. There's one. Yeah, come on up.
Yes, the answer is yes. Each platform will have ticket vending machines and real-time SS signs, so they need electrical service.
Has that been looked into how to, because our history with San Pablo is horrible with PG&E and costs and the time delays in getting those meters and separately metered systems. It would be so much easier if we could make some deal with the city of Oakland and pull off street power from the city lights system or something, than to have to go to PG&E for every single of the 34 stations and get separate meters for them. I mean, that's going to be extremely expensive and just a pain.
The discussions are starting right now as part of the 65% moving into the final. We are evaluating all the options. The design is formulating right now, solidifying in all these aspects.
I mean, because it's for street safety and all of that, so it's not as though there's not a relationship that we can't tie into.
I'd be happy to help with that, and I don't know if it's too late to look at solar also, but I know that at the San Pablo era, no, it would have to be the battery, yeah.
It'd be easier to tie in.
Easier to do grid tied anyway.
Madam?
Okay, yes.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Did fiber optics, the lines, did we resolve that issue with the city in terms of being able to utilize their current space to upgrade or lay the fiber optic lines?
It hasn't been finalized yet. We have met with the city, both the staff level and also more recently at executive staff level. We have a follow-up meeting scheduled, I believe, next week to continue that discussion, but I think we're getting close.
Good.
Can you shed some information, please? No, what is it?
No, why, for me, it's, considering the international corridors where not only the business merchants, but also the neighborhood has access to free Wi-Fi, the internet, right, in terms of educating our children. I think, for me, it's And I know there was sometimes the bureaucracies get in the way of each other, where we have, the city has the tubing to be able to lay your line down, but then we get into the debate in terms of it's mine, no, you do your own, and kind of attitude. And for me, it's, you know, it's a cost saving, but at the same time, you know, we work together to benefit the neighborhood. And I'm just, because I've been hearing a lot of debate, you know, no, that's yours, no, that's mine. And we need to resolve that issue, Rebecca, in terms of making sure the city cooperates and provides the best environment for our neighbors. And certainly when it comes to, you know, the fiber optic lines, I mean, I think for me, it's something that's desperately needed in those corridors.
And to piggyback on that, I'm sure that San Leandro, because they have a big fiber optic plan coming in the future, that should be extended into San Leandro too. Okay, so you need to then to talk to the people, the staff in San Leandro. No, because I know San Leandro is big.
Very right.
Yes.
And we want, that's the whole
We
deal,
want
is
it
to go
to.
into open.
Yeah, and we want to.
I think the lesson learned here is whenever you're digging up the street, it's a good idea to put conduit in. And now looking to the future where we want merchants, we want to have Wi-Fi zones, it's the laterals. The cost is going to be in the lateral connections. So if there's any way to facilitate that, maybe not to provide laterals, because that would make the cost go crazy, at least have the ability to phase it, let's say. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know anything about hooking up to fiber optic. All I know is the cost is in digging up the street. And that's what we're going to be doing, is digging up the street. So the trunk line could be a very nice parallel to what the guard line is. That's powering the San Leandro system.
So the answer is yes, we're going to resolve that, right?
Yes.
So all our kids and families will have access sooner or later. All right.
Is there a motion to receive the report?
I just want to make one point. There's a business in Emeryville called Level 3. They own fiber all over the world, and have put in a lot. So you could consult with them as to what the hassles are with respect to what Michael was asking for some of that. They're good at it.
Okay. Is there a motion to receive it?
So moved.
Before, Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify something my colleague agreed would be good to mention. The fiber network that the project is putting in is to run the BRT system, the communication systems which I described. The opportunity to leverage that network for greater community benefit that you mentioned, Councilmember Gallo, is a possibility, but it's a separate action that requires another discussion or a separate discussion. And I think to the extent that the fiber is going to be placed, and it is going in San Leandro sector as well as Oakland sector, I think the opportunities exist for that. How exactly that's going to pan out is yet to be determined, but I didn't want to make that
It's
distinction.
like creating an
But I think, Madam
infrastructure.
Chair, I think for me, look, I know that's, see, I think this is where the bureaucracies get in the way. One, we all agree is a good thing, right? And I think San Leandro can have it, Oakland should have it as well. And if you drive by International, there's a library on 83rd. You see kids sitting out there in the curb and on the outside of the library. Why? Because they have access to Wi-Fi. And some of us don't have it at home. And so for this is an opportunity where you can grow a city. The merchants don't have internet, a good number of them, but they would have access to be able to do that. So whatever it takes to make that happen, I want to make sure. Otherwise, because we're going to dig up the ground anyways, right? We're going to have it all dug up. So I think that that's something the city and I, where the city, we ought to cooperate with you to make that happen. Absolutely.
We all agree. So there's a motion to accept it and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Now we consider receiving update on the BRT Information Center.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Policy Steering Committee. My name is Terry Lightfoot, the Community Outreach Manager for the BRT project. I'd like to give you just a brief update on the Community Outreach Information Center. We're very excited to announce that the establishment of Information Center is progressing at a good pace toward operations in May. Current preparations include painting, installation of carpet, and also IT services. Our focus at this point in getting the facility ready is to meet its primary objective of serving as an information source for the community about the project. We're in the process of developing a staffing plan that will include days and hours of operations for when we open in May. As we move closer to a final date for operations for opening, we're working with other AC Transit departments, such as marketing and communication and customer service, to determine how to leverage the center to support other AC Transit services, such as overall brand marketing, rider schedule information, and connection to customer service. Proposed amenities include being considered for the center include detailed route map for each neighborhood, BRT video simulation, station models, artistic enhancement visuals, job and contracting opportunity information, and a customer service hotline. To further connect with the community, the team is reaching out to community-based organizations that work with youth to develop murals based on their vision of how the BRT project will transform their communities. Keep in mind, or keep on your calendar, that preparations for open house are underway, and you can anticipate a save-the-date in the coming weeks for that opening. If there are no further questions, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, and looking forward to this site. I'm not sure if I missed it in here. Clipper card point of sale, has that been resolved yet?
It has not been resolved. What I understand, talking with customer service, that there is a possibility of transferring one of the AC Transit's add value machines to the center. But my understanding is that could not happen until after a network upgrade is concluded later this year, which will give us the time to look at to evaluate the hours of operation, what kind of foot traffic we have, and what other needs we might have for Clipper support at that point.
So you'd be selling what, passes and tickets, or what fare media will be available to people at this site?
I'm not sure at that point.
And what has to happen for Clipper to be there? I mean, now, and not, I don't know if you were here, but I brought this up 2 years ago and 6 months ago, that we're spending money out of this project to rent a space and staff a space and decorate a space to encourage people to come into the space to find out how to ride our system. And then they get there and they say, sounds great, I'd like to get a pass. And then we say, screw you, go away. That is insane, and we should not open the space until we figure out how to provide the passes in it. I mean, you can't invite people in, give them a sales pitch, and then tell them to go away. We need to have the passes there. When we went to Clipper, one of the deep discussions on this board before authorizing going to Clipper was that it wasn't going to be available in working class neighborhoods. And the board and the staff at the time swore you'd do everything you could to make sure it was, and it's still not. And now more and more we're going to Clipper. It slows the system down enormously when the riders don't have Clipper. And there's still a systemic inequity, and communities of color and low-income neighborhoods don't have access to Clipper. So if we're going to authorize the use of project funds to open a site in a high-need area and then not make fare media available, it's just an insult to people that they're supposed to believe we're trying to convince them to participate in the system. And since Clipper gives discounts, it's really unjust to not offer it in these neighborhoods.
Yes, ma'am. This is Dennis Butler, Chief Planning and Development Officer. Right? We all completely agree with you that we need to do that, and we're working on it just as hard as we can to do that. Just last week, as a matter of fact, the general manager and I were at MTC working on getting a Clipper machine. It's not as easy as any one of us wishes it were, but we are working on it, and we all intend to do that. We're all right on board with you, and we're working it just as hard as we can. I think the stage is going to open before we get the Clipper machine in there, but we're working that way. So I mean, it's high up on our priority list. So we're trying.
One of the main reasons that as we all agree, that it's safety. People don't feel comfortable bringing their cash to these, especially at night along the way. And to have that Clipper card is the thing that we're, that's going to bring riders to, it's going to be the success of the project. And so, I mean, you're working hard, that's great, and I hope that you just go out with a more determined.
Yes, ma'am, we got it. We're doing it. If it were all in our control, it would be a lot easier, but we have to
What do we
collaborate.
need, and who's the decision maker on this?
Let us do some
Or
more.
what do you need from us in terms of letters or lobby? I mean, it is an unlawful act for a regional MPO to authorize Clipper cards disproportionately in white upper-class neighborhoods than in other neighborhoods. It's illegal. And it appears to be what's going on. So, if they won't get this done now, then you should let us know, and it should be on the agenda. The report shouldn't not say, we're working on this, but the holdup is at MTC or whatever. The report should say, and if we need to be sending them letters from the city or the city attorney, I'd be happy to follow up on that.
I would like to offer some kind of explanation about the AC Transit Board. We have been working really hard to get Clipper accessibility in community of colors. I mean, I don't know about the specific, but the AC Transit Board has been very, very aware and involved in trying to get these merchants to accept machines, because it's not easy putting all
But here
those
you have a
machines.
building.
No, I know. So, but I just wanted to make an explanation about the AC Transit Board.
Rebecca's right. I mean, we have 4 members right now sitting here that are members of ACTC. So how can we how can we help you? I know, but if it requires a letter from ACT, I mean, how can we help you get what you need accomplished?
So I hear that, and I appreciate it, and so let us figure out exactly how you can help, and we'll come back to you.
Joe, did you have something?
I mean, it's more of a statement. If we can't do it, then how do we ever expect Clipper to expand? If AC Transit can't get a Clipper, can't sell a Clipper at that, then
At the BRT hub.
who can? I mean, it's a sad,
That we should
it's
apply
sad that
Clipper.
we're still having
I
this
mean-
conversation. We should be able to get a Clipper. We should be able to sell a Clipper.
Okay, motion to receive this report with the concerns?
Motion to bring this item back at the next meeting with an update on the Clipper machine. And memos to us in the meantime if there's anyone giving any difficulty and who it is, so that we may. Look, I know it's not your fault, but please let us know whose it is, and we'll go and give them a hard time instead of you.
That's like a good deal.
Okay, is there a second to that motion, amended the whole thing? Okay, all right, in agreement, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Now, consider receive an update on the business impact mitigation plan.
Thank you again, members of the committee. My name is Terry Lightfoot, manager of the Community Outreach Program for the BRT project. Last summer, AC Transit was asked to revise its business impact mitigation plan to include more input from merchants and members of the community along the corridor. While we are working toward that goal, it's important to note that AC Transit has invested significant resources into supporting business impact mitigations, including $2.165 billion for a range of mitigations, including possibly repositioning of business signs for impacted merchants whose businesses are behind curb platforms, installing business signs for affected corner businesses, additional street sweeping, car washing, sidewalk cleaning, and other things to address construction issues. A Open for Business program to promote business activity during BRT construction and operation by informing the public and the local community that the enterprise, that commerce is still taking place along the corridor during the construction of the project. As we just mentioned, we're opening a BRT Community Information Center, and we're also have agreed to hire a community ombudsman very quickly to support our connection with the community. The revised plan will be presented for review to the cities and stakeholders in the next 4 to 6 weeks. In the meantime, we're continuing to gather additional input through collaborative efforts with our agency partners, community-based organizations, and merchants. Some key things that we have done include development of a merchant directory that will provide the names and addresses of all businesses along the corridor, which will support communications with them during construction of all 3 bid packages. Community-based organizations merchant meetings in which we attend their meetings and provide project information to their business owners who are members of their group. We've had meetings with Youth Council, East Bay Asian Youth Council, and San Leandro Chamber of Commerce. We will be engaging others as we move toward providing more detailed information about the project. A key component of our efforts in our outreach to this date has been a block-by-block merchant outreach program in which more than 200 businesses, approximately between 15 and 20% of all businesses along the corridor, were contacted. These contacts led to interviews with more than 165 merchants, and a summary of that report further enhanced the plan based on the ideas that were generated at a recent community outreach working group meeting. We are working with merchants and others to develop templates of mitigations that can be provided for specific categories of businesses similarly impacted along the corridor, or similarly impacted by construction along the corridor. In these workshops, we're reviewing detailed maps with merchants that show how parking will be impacted along International Boulevard and East 14th Street, and where additional parking will be added or repurposed along the side streets. The maps will also show what kinds of construction activities will take place in their merchant's business. We anticipate that these templates will support the systemic application of mitigations for most of the businesses along the corridor, and identify those businesses that may need additional mitigation because of unique circumstances. In conclusion, the BIM plan is a part of the process of reviewing and identifying mitigations. As you can see from the table in the report, there are mitigations that are expected before and after construction. Because the majority of businesses won't be impacted until the start of construction for bid package 3, we will use that additional time to further define possible mitigations in collaboration with merchants, stakeholders, and community organizations. And if there are any questions, that would conclude my report.
Any questions?
Again, the response, you've had a good number of meetings in the neighborhood. And so I think we appreciate the information. But again, it comes down to what they call the strategic policy direction. And that I'm looking for in terms of recommendations. So we met with the merchants and we heard their concerns and they provided something in writing. But I guess for me, it's, they've provided other written materials as well. At what point do we acknowledge and provide recommendations in terms of how to mitigate some of their concerns?
Well, the information and feedback we get from them will be included in this impact mitigation plan that will come before you and the
So you're preparing that to be able how to resolve some of the concerns in the next report?
Yes.
I'm wondering if it would be possible to have the business list shared with our city, in that when a new business comes in along East 14th in my district, I usually go visit it, and it would be great to, have this kind of backup and also kind of provide some information on what's going to happen at that business and so forth, and it would be very helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have some.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. The first speaker is Rosendo.
Mi nombre es Rosendo Gámez. Soy comerciante por 50 años en el Blvd District. Estamos muy preocupados por el proyecto. Alrededor de 300 negocios en Rodeo. Dependemos del tráfico en carro. Y el impacto económico nos va a causar 80%.
Switch places.
El impacto económico nos va a causar cerrar 80% de nuestros negocios. Por los parking que se van a eliminar.
That is because of the parking that will be eliminated.
Porque no va a haber lugares para parqueo como lotes.
Because there will not be enough parking lots.
Y porque no hay zonas de descarga.
Because there will be less unloading and loading zones.
Y porque vivimos con mucha presión con el crimen, prostitución y la violencia.
Because we have a lot of places already with crime, prostitution, and violence.
Al parecer, a Easy Transit no le importa eso.
It seems that Easy Transit has not considered these factors,
Y a la ciudad tampoco.
as well as the city.
Y ¿quién va a pagar la limpieza cuando esté la construcción?
And who's going to pay for cleaning when the construction is going?
¿Quién se va a encargar cuando este proyecto de cuidar nuestras áreas?
Who's going to take charge of surveillance our areas when these areas will be changed?
¿Cómo nos van a compensar a los negocios que se van a ir fuera de ahí o relocación?
How these businesses are going to be compensated because of relocation?
Gracias.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Juan Chavez.
Hi, my name is Juan Chavez. I own the Guaracha Azteca. My question is, you will say Rosendo, the parking street. We need parking. I don't know the people, yours never see the Sunday and Saturday in the state of Rivero. Our customer is coming out. All right, it's 70% the customer is coming to Oakland. Our business is Saturday and Sunday. What happened with this new program? No parking? No parking? I think this project is killing all business around the district program. All business, 90% no have parking for business. And my question is, what happened after this project with us? Many will leave us, I don't know what happened. We need your help for city and AC Transit. Okay? Thank you.
Next speaker is Jose Romero.
Good morning. I got the same issues Rosendo and this last speaker. I've been there for 35 years in International Boulevard. It's my business located in the middle of 18th and 19th. I depend on deliveries. I depend on customers driving to my business. And I don't know what is going to be done and what AC Transit is going to do about this impact that is going to affect not just me, but several merchants in San Antonio, where my business is. And I want to find out, what's going to happen to be ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Tim Lay.
Hello, yes, thank you. My name is Tim Lay. I'm representing EastLakeWatch. My concern is about parking and delivery, about the lecture. With reduction of delivery would driving some of the business away, and it will set up order for good. Thank you.
And that was our last speaker.
Thank you. I'm not remembering when we're meeting next. I know we'll talk about that at the end. But I would suggest that either at the next regularly scheduled meeting or as a special thing, we have a particular time to focus specifically on the parking with the maps and the space by space maps of where they're being lost from and where the new lots are. This BRT project is going to be amazing and is going to improve life for a lot of people, unless we screw up how we handle the parking mitigations and find ourselves annoying and bankrupting our local small businesses. And as long as we don't do that, there's almost nothing else in this that is looking like it isn't now working. I mean, the negotiations between the city and the district are improving, and with the disability community have improved, and it looks like everything except the parking impact is well on its way to being resolved. And with this one, every meeting we hear from staff that it's well underway, and from the community that they feel like it's not underway at all. So I think we need to have an item where we have the map and the specific spaces and show the replacement lots and really dig into, like, are there a couple specific blocks where it's still not resolved or what? So that would be my suggestion.
So
I agree with that.
If I could respond to that comment, that is actually one of the actions that we're undertaking right now, where we're actually bringing together small groups of people with members from city staff, AC Transit staff, and merchants to look at the strip maps will show block by block where the parking is being moved and where it's going on side streets and what happened with loading zone. We recognize that we need to get down to a much finer level of detail to help the merchants understand what's happening. So we will be doing that, and that's currently underway with, in terms of creating the template that I mentioned earlier, but also in just basic information sharing with more merchants along the corridor.
But Rebecca's right. I mean, us as the policy makers, we need to see, because we keep, as she said, we keep hearing from people, no, it's not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know until I see something in writing. I know you guys had a very good one for the San Antonio area a long time ago, and with the name of the businesses and what it concerned, specific business, it concerned, the solution. That was very good.
We're, Madam Chair, we're actually doing a walkthrough this afternoon at 1 o'clock on International from Fruitvale all the way up to past High Street. And I think that we recognize the parking issue. And I think that even within that walk in International, you have lots. The City of Oakland owns lots that have been vacant for a number of years that could turn into not only helping the merchants, but the BART traffic that's really heavy now, again, getting more heavy in terms of usage, which is a good thing. So I think we're going to walk, and there are parking spaces, like at the Huarache. He's been asking to deal with a yellow zone right across from his restaurant. I think the city people are they're acknowledging perhaps redoing parking in different ways, not only on International, but on the neighboring streets. So we're trying to address that. So there is greater cooperation between the city and AC Transit staff. So we're trying to bring that together.
Good. Okay, is there a motion to accept it?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, consider receiving update on the parking impact mitigation.
That's what we just did.
Oh, I thought it was business.
Oh.
No, we just did business.
Business impact.
Okay. Oh, okay. We
Yeah,
talked
so
about
we're
that.
doing, I know, now we're doing parking. Got me confusing there.
My pleasure to update the committee on the parking impact mitigation plan. Parking is obviously a sensitive subject and one that is critical to the community. My name is Alan Berter, and I'm the consultant program manager for the BRT project. And I'm going to outline for you the status of the parking impact mitigation plan. We are continuing to work closely with the cities to develop not only the details of the potential impacts to the parking within the corridor, but also the mitigation, so that we come up with a solution that best meets the needs of the community. We have approached the parking impact mitigation in two ways. There is the general overall policy and approach for the entire corridor, and then specific targeted approaches within 3 neighborhoods. Let me start with the general approach, which is to first determine the parking demand within the corridor, and then to make sure 100% of that demand is met within 500 feet where parking currently is located. So in instances where parking needs to be displaced because of changes in curb line stations, the alignment of the BRT guideway, we are relocating parking to other locations. 2 different approaches. Every parking space for loading, for ADA or disabled, and for metered parking is being placed 1-to-1 in another location within 500 feet of where it is today. Passenger loading zones, uncontrolled parking, and time-limited parking is being relocated to the extent that it is needed to meet demand. When I talk about demand, I'm saying that we want the parking to be utilized to 85% of capacity. So 100 spaces to meet the demand of 85 individuals who are looking to park. It's a level that allows the people to find space with a minimum of difficulty without leaving a lot of vacant spaces on the streets. In the San Antonio, Fruitvale, and Elmhurst areas, we've taken some additional steps. In San Antonio in particular, side street uncontrolled spaces may be relocated to, the uncontrolled spaces may be relocated to side streets, and some parallel parking may be relocated to angled parking. In addition, both Fruitvale and Elmhurst, new parking lots are being constructed off-street to accommodate some of that additional demand. We are continuing to update this plan as we continue to revise the curb lines to make the fine-tuning of the actual configuration of busway, and we're working with the city on that. Available to answer any questions that you might have on the subject.
Is there any questions? Oh, it's a comment.
I think our speakers also wanted to comment on this item as well.
Or I think it was the same I mean, I would just make the same comment, right? We've heard from the public; they're clearly not happy with with where we're at with it. It's not totally clear where we're at with it, so I think the same comment that was discussed on the previous item.
So, I mean, what you're saying is that the people who, dijeron algo, estamos hablando sobre parqueaderos, es lo mismo que ustedes hablaron antes, ¿no verdad? I'm asking them if that's the same thing that they were feeling. So, no necesitan venir hacia aquí a hablar otra vez de lo mismo.
No.
Bueno, asking the new.
But let's solve it. Let's have this come back with maps and depictions and where the mitigations are, and see if we need more of them.
Eso es lo que vamos a hacer.
And I think that's what we're trying to get to, and I think even the walk this afternoon, so we'll stop at Huaraches and Lucendos and all their places so we can see it from their eyes in terms of what their needs are. But now as a result, like on 35th International, across from La Placita, there's a large parking lot that's privately owned. They're willing to work with the city and work with the AC Transit to make that available, as well as, the BART, where we're supposed to do this housing project, that's city-owned, and that's being made available to the merchants and to their employees and customers. So there are many possibilities. We just got to bring them all together, display them, and create the agreement with the merchants. So I think we'll get there.
¿Y cómo van a eliminar la gente que se para todo el día en los planes estarronados, que se van a armar todo el día? Todos los 7 cuadras se parquean y se van a agarrar el mar San Francisco y dejan carro todo el día.
He's asking how you're going to deal with the problem that BART riders park on the streets.
So right now, BART riders are on the neighborhood streets as well in front of their business.
We can fix that.
So we have to. Anyways, that's something we'll stop by this afternoon. We're going to stop by your place and try to do. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is a motion to accept it?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Consider receiving status report on the 65% design plan for major infrastructure construction.
My pleasure to report on the major infrastructure construction. We are approaching the 65% design plan. Again, my name is Alan Burton, the program manager for the BRT project. The 65% plans advance the preliminary design of the 35% level. At the 35% level, we established basically a footprint where this facility would go, where the stations were, curb lines, etc. We now move on to the major and minor detail elements. So, for example, previously we talked about lighting levels. Now we'll be talking about the details of the fixtures. At the 100% level, we'll get down to the detail of the actual light bulbs. So we're getting a lot closer in terms of constructible set of plans, and as importantly, the actual cost, the detailed cost, so that we fully understand that before it goes to bid. This major infrastructure is in 3 phases. There was the preliminary engineering, the 65%, and then the 100%. We're in that 65%, and the work is comprised of 5 principal components. The first component is the stormwater drainage system. We're developing the stormwater drainage system that will take the water off the streets. And an additional feature is the requirement that the inlets conform to state water resource control board requirements for a trash neutral solution. In other words, collecting the trash before it washes off and goes through the system. The second component is the roadway geometry. This is the roadway itself that will serve the BRT and at the same time improve the appearance of the corridor and make for a more pedestrian-friendly corridor. The third component is the station and canopy design, which incorporates the art that we talked about earlier. This is the weather protection, the windscreens, the roof that protects the passengers from the adverse weather, minimal as it may be. On those bad days, they will have weather protection. The communication system, which was asked about earlier in this meeting, is the traffic signal priority system that will allow the buses to operate more closely to their schedules and also serve as communication for the ticket vending machines, passenger information systems, and other communication and monitoring. And then finally, the fifth component, the landscape design, with all of the median and the station areas will be landscaped with trees and plantings to make for a more attractive environment than we have today. Our 65% plans, bid package number 3, the major infrastructure component, will be completed April 18th, and then we will immediately begin advancing in cooperation with their cities and with Caltrans towards the 100% plans, creating a bid package that can be led for construction next year. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
One of the things that I was noticing, and I guess this is the appropriate place to bring it up, is trash cans. When I'm looking at the designs of the station, and it could just be that they didn't have that design for their trash can or so forth, but I think it's very important that we have trash cans, and that's a whole maintenance issue. And are you going to contract with cities to, go through and do it, or AC Transit goes through and clears them up? But one of the things that can most affect a station is to have a whole bunch of trash around. So I'm sure you're probably accommodating that, but I don't know how or how that fits into your plans.
Anything that you haven't seen in the 35% plans in that regard, you will see.
Because it will be in probably the last 85% or something. Okay, thank you. Michael?
In regard to stormwater waste runoff, I believe in the news recently in the city of El Cerrito, we received a $1 million grant to put in rain garden type features to collect the water and drain it, as opposed to just putting it through the drain systems. So it may be too late for this, but if we haven't completed all the landscaping, is there an opportunity maybe to incorporate some of these guidelines for wastewater runoff, stormwater runoff?
We have investigated a variety of alternative measures that can be applied to the inlets, looked at other cities that San Leandro has experimented with some successfully. Other cities around California have similarly made forays into studying this matter. We think we've come up with a solution, essentially an insert into the inlet that either allows relatively easy cleaning, or in the absence of cleaning, it will still function. So we have come up with a solution that catches it at the inlet.
Yeah, that's a catchment. I'm talking about with the landscaping itself. As incorporated into that runoff is a feature that allows the rainwater at the site. So this is now in El Cerrito, it's on San Pablo Avenue.
Bioswale.
Yeah, thank you. Biosoils, rain gardens, this kind of thing. It may be too late in the process. I'm just suggesting it's not too late.
Right, we're familiar with these types of sustainable initiatives for capturing rainwater and using it as irrigation methods. We're aware that within the SFP, San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, their sewer system improvement program has a variety of pilot projects in which they're looking at this exact kind of thing, trying to capture water from the watershed. We haven't looked at those things specifically for this project yet, but I think that's something that we can explore because we're in the process now of trying to determine how we're going to actually irrigate these landscape medians throughout the quarter. So we'll take that under advisement and explore what alternatives may be there for us to use.
Well, and this may be obvious, but as you're picking landscaping, it would be particularly important to pick landscaping that doesn't need a lot of water or a lot of maintenance. So I imagine you're aware of that. And East Bay Live has a whole handbook on low water use landscaping. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just want to publicly thank Mr. Amigo and the staff and all of you at AC Transit, because I know we're having a discussion and debate about international, but through your efforts, if you hadn't been engaged and involved in creating energy, then I think Oakland perhaps may not have gotten to where we're going to be in the near future. So we are, everything from the lighting to, at least even trimming our trees and doing the sidewalk repairs, the awnings. I mean, those are in discussions at the city level, but through your effort, it's getting us up to speed to make sure we bring international back to where it used to be. So I want to publicly thank you.
Second.
So it is true. That's one of the outcomes of the BRT, hopefully, that. Yes. Okay, so is there a motion to receive?
So moved.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next, confirm date and time of next meeting. I know that you have some pressure time, Dennis, and the reason for it?
What we'd like to do on April 28th, I believe, is end of April, is go through the 65% design with you and respond to.
So the cities will have time to, the partners will have time to comment and all that by then?
After that, we're going to release the plans on 4/18. We'd like to walk you all through them so you can see what's in there, and go through the parking plans, and go through the business impact mitigation plan in some detail, so you have a thorough understanding of it as both the city partners and everybody else goes through and comments on the design. Just kind of give you the overview of it at the outset of the design review period.
So may I ask, so would you be ready by then to present the parking mitigation on a block by block mapped out space by space basis?
Yes. So
we're talking about what?
the 28th?
April?
Yes, the 28th, yes.
April 28th, okay. That's a Monday.
It could be a long meeting, and it's going to be down in the details kind of meeting.
Can I ask a question about that? Just procedurally, I mean, so you're releasing it. You're not bringing it to us for our approval. It will at this point already have been submitted to.
It's when we release it, it's time for everyone to go through and do the review and submit their comments. There's a 60-day review period.
Right, but you're submitting it to FTA at the beginning of the process or the end of the
This doesn't go to the FTA. It goes to both cities, it goes to Caltrans, it goes to basically to the world for review.
Okay, because I know our staff is going to want to review it and then have comments.
Yes,
it seems that it would behoove us to meet after our folks have had a chance to read it, rather than have us try to redo the work of staff and go through the, I mean, I want to go in depth on the parking, because that is a very tangible thing where we, who are not all engineers, could say, okay, this block doesn't have enough spaces versus here's a lot on this block. But I think to go through the whole 65% engineering document before our staff goes through and tells us what concerns it flags for them as people who deal with the street alignments as their profession.
That was my question, whether 10 days will be enough to have the partners respond.
But no. So we were perfectly willing to do whatever the committee chooses to do. Our part was to walk you through so you get familiar with the package and kind of know what's going on with the thing. But if you'd like to focus in on the parking impact mitigation plan and the business impact mitigation plan, I think those are the most interesting and contentious kind of things. We could just focus in on those things. Let the engineers do their thing with the street alignments and all that sort of thing.
When does this go into the AC Transit line?
So it will go, I think we're looking at mid-June. Yeah, mid-June. So the idea is that we'll release them. We'll be able to get some comments back from people and get the bulk of the comments in from all the agencies that need to do the review in time to summarize them for the board's consideration.
Wait a minute. You're going to come to the PSC first before you go to the AC Transit Board. So then, when is it that you expect, have you given them a time to respond to so that you can go back to the PSC and then to the AC Transit Board?
Yes. but I tell you, it's really tight. In order for us to make the schedule, things are really tight, and so that's what we're shooting for. We're shooting to get all the reviews done, get it to the PSC, get it to the our board, and get it to the city council before the August recess for the open city council, closed city council, of course, right? And acknowledging that that's optimistic, but that's what we're going to try for, and that's what we're shooting for.
So what are we going to do on the 28th for this meeting?
So we wanted to give you a general overview of the whole 65% design package. If you all prefer to focus in on the parking impact mitigation plan, the business impact mitigation plan, I think that's appropriate and we're perfectly willing to do that. That's the most contentious part. I don't know that anybody wants to look at, all the rest of it. That's the big things, right? Parking and business impact. So
what is the pleasure of the board? Should we do the 28th, just, the parking and the business meeting? And then let the cities opine on the 65% and then come back to us and then we go to the.
Okay. Anybody, is that cool? Anybody have any objection?
What time on the 28th?
10? Well,
We have a board retreat on the 30th.
that starts at 10. I mean, how long is the board retreat?
It's 4 hours. It's a full 4-hour retreat, 10 to 2, maybe 10 to 3.
And we couldn't do it like 1 to 5 retreat and then have this meeting in the morning? Yeah. Does board member mind to have it on a Wednesday for this quick? Wednesday, the 30th, from 10 to 12, and then we do the retreat in the afternoon. Okay.
You guys do this.
I know, yeah, but, okay. So the 30th in the morning with the parking and business mitigation. Thanks. Any future agenda items? So we have, the Clipper,
Actually, I want an update on Clipper at the April 30th meeting as well.
Can we have an update on Clipper?
Well, we can certainly update.
Okay.
Even if the update is only the person we need approval from hasn't given it and here's their name and contact number.
Yeah.
With specifics.
Yeah.
Okay, good. With that, we adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. That's just see her?
All right. So are we done here?